Welcome, Craig. Welcome, Rob.
Morning, guys.
What's up, guys?
We're just catching up, me and Chris. Rob, how are you?
Good. It's been a good week. Pushing a little too hard, so I need to stop doing that next week.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's good that you recognize it. A lot of us get in that where we don't recognize it, and then it becomes real problem.
I was thinking about that this morning of walking, of realizing why am I so tired? Why am I not sleeping good? Then, well, if you stay up till 8 or 9, 10 at night staring at a screen, it's probably going to jack with your sleep.
Yeah, no doubt. Um,
You give yourself breaks away from the screen, Rob?
Not enough, man. I've been on a
Yeah,
tear the last 2 weeks. I've gotten really obsessed with AI, so I'm watching videos and consuming so much content to absorb
right.
it. But then, you start with one video on YouTube and 45 minutes later, you're like, okay, I
that's
got to turn
right.
this off.
Yeah,
I
or
know.
4 hours later for me sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've done a
yeah.
few of those this week. That's why I'm staying up. Like last night, it was probably till 10 o'clock watching YouTube videos about AI prompting. I'm like, I
Yeah.
got to turn this off.
All right, it's 8:30. Let's get started. Get our number 1 to 10. You guys know the drill. Oh, we got Tanya coming in. So for me, I'm an eight, probably doing pretty well, feeling good, getting my sleep, doing really well. Hi, Tanya. Welcome.
Morning.
Hey,
You know the
Tanya.
1 to 10 exercise we do, right? Have you done this before?
Yes,
Okay. So I'm an eight and doing well, and sleep's my big thing. Who's next?
I'll go. I'm probably seven, 6.5, 7. I didn't sleep well either. That usually makes or breaks my day.
Yeah.
Whether sleep, I don't know.
All right. Rob, you're a six. What are you going to do to get up to a seven or an eight?
Stop watching those YouTube videos next week late at night about AI.
All right. Good. Craig told me he's having some audio issues, but he's a six. So, six is like maintaining, I think. And I have my 6 weeks for sure. But also, I'm sort of got one foot into retirement. So I'm working a lot less already. Uh, so, um, I think I have an advantage over most people that are doing that day-to-day grind. That gets really bad sometimes. Chris, what do you
You
got?
always carry yourself like a Kool-Aid, man. I mean, you really do. You just do, man. I'm jealous.
Well, you should see me during a bad week. Um, and my wife will tell you, and she said this to me the other day. She said, "You know why people think you're always so together? Because you never share your shit with them." And I said, "You're absolutely right. And I need to be better at telling people when I'm having bad days. And it's not that I'm trying to be better than I am. For me, it's not burdening them with my crap. That's the way I feel about it. But again, we've got to overcome that, right? I've got to be able to do that and do it comfortably. So, all right, Craig, you got your audio straightened out. What you're a six? What are you going to do for the next week?
Um, I think just get over this cold I've been dealing with for like a
Oh
week now.
man,
It's one of those things I think half the people in the office have it too. So just powering through and rest up this weekend.
okay,
Try again
good,
next week for a short week before the holiday.
awesome. We're talking about time management. We're talking about time wasters today. I'm going to go through some of the big time wasters we went through the big ones, meetings, email, phone, and text. And we talked about last week doing a time log. I encourage you to do that if you haven't done it yet. And if you need the time log, the Excel sheet for me to send you, just email me. I'll send it to you. It's just Brent@brentdarnell.com. It's also in the online courses. And I think all of you, except maybe Tanya, has access to the online courses anyway. But Tanya, if I can help you with anything or if you want access to the online courses, email me and I'll get you access
Okay,
if you
great.
want to
Thanks.
check them out. But we're talking about the time wasters, and I wanted I put in the chat this time management worksheet. So download that if you can. If you're on a phone and you can't, just email me. It's also in the um, using, time management using lean principles course that we have. But this worksheet is amazing. And I'm going to probably go through the worksheet next week in some detail. It's based on a book called Getting Things Done by David Allen. I've just turned it into a worksheet instead of trying to read the book, and it's so powerful. And I can't tell you how much time this has shaved off that is available to me now by doing this worksheet in a meaningful way. So check it out. We'll probably go through it next week. And if you haven't done the time log and logging everything throughout your day, every day, I encourage you to do that as well. Because you'd be amazed at how you're spending your time, how you're actually spending your time. And then the time log thing shows, family, self-care, learning, whatever. And as it turns out, we spend a lot of time on things we don't value. And that's the whole thing about lean is you got to do things that add value. So, all right. So let's look at,
Brent, real quick, what was the
yeah,
math on the screen? What was the
what's
math
that?
on the screen? The math on the screen time
Oh,
was four,
12
if you watch
hours.
four,
Oh yeah.
but it
If
was
you
like
watch
four
4 hours of
hours.
TV a day, by 65, you've watched 9 years of television.
That's right. Yeah.
And the people that track this crap tell us we're up to 12 hours of screen time a day. So
Except for Rob,
phone,
who's up to about 23.
yeah, Rob's he's busting our average there. Um, but so true. I mean, you get in those holes, right, Rob? You look up and 45 minutes later, 4 hours later, you've been doom scrolling for hours. And again, I like TV. I like to watch TV. But what we talk about in the time wasting, we have a time waster exercise too that adds all those things up. If you took half of that quote wasted time and you did it for self-care, for spending time with your family, for connecting with others, for exercise, for anything else, how would, in a year, how would your life be different? So there's also that time. Let me just throw that in there too. I'm going to put in the time waste exercise also. Time waste analysis. Let's see. Wasted time exercise. There it is. I'm going to put that in the chat too. And then I'm going to share screen. We're going to talk about some of these other time wasters, but I think that time worksheet is going to be our for next week because I'm going to just show you guys how powerful that can be. All right, let's share screen. Let's go to there we go. All right. So the first thing we talk about is delegation. And here's the thing I tell a lot, especially young people or middle managers, especially if control or tendency toward perfection is showing up on your emotional profile. By the way, the emotional test is available in my online store. It's absolutely free. You can download it and take it. But people with that profile of perfectionism, control, and lack of delegation, it's the biggest stumbling block to their career mobility. By far, that is the biggest stumbling block because they turn into workaholics. They work a lot and companies value them, but they're never seen as leaders. So for those people, I tell them, hey, if you want to move up in your career, create 5 of you underneath you. And that takes coaching and mentoring and delegating and letting them make the mistakes and all that. So we've got an exercise that talks about how to delegate well. But if you're poor at that, and I used to be really poor at that, I'm getting better because as a solopreneur, you do a lot of that anyway. But I've got some really good admins that I just hand stuff off to now and forget about it. So talk to me about delegation. Anybody have trouble doing that? Do you want to do everything yourself?
I work
Definitely.
with people that do.
Yeah. And again, that I mean, think about the people that are on the receiving end of lack of delegation. They feel like you don't trust them, that you don't think they're good enough. All kinds of stuff comes out of that. So that's a bad part of that whole delegation thing, or lack thereof. So delegation, and again, in terms of lean principles, you're clogging up your workflow. What I tell people that don't delegate well is you're decreasing the capacity of your company, because if you're not delegating and let people learn and create their own way and make some mistakes, then you're decreasing the capacity of the company, and that's a bad workflow thing, and that's what lean is all about: creating smooth, continuous, uninterrupted workflow. Right. All right, so let's look at our next thing, which is procrastination. Any procrastinators out there? All right. So I tend to be a procrastinator. I hear the story of there's a composer, Puccini. I think it was Puccini, and what he said was they they gave him they commissioned an opera, and they said you've got 6 months to do the opera. And they said, where are you going to start? He goes, well, first thing I'm going to do is take off 5 months. So, and some people work really well with that extra pressure and, deadline coming up. I tend to do that. But here's the thing: if you're a chronic procrastinator, that exercise will free you, and that's do the hardest thing on your list, the one you've been putting off, the one you're procrastinating on, and finish it as best you can. Do that first, and the rest of the day will feel like a vacation to you. So, any comments on procrastination from anybody? What do you got?
I don't know
I
if it's
do.
procrastination. I get caught up with so many different tasks of
Mm,
the priority of, well, which one? I'm not trying to
yeah,
delay the five I got to do, but which one of the five
right.
should be the most important? So that I think that's my struggle more. There's not lack of action. It's, well, which one
Which
first?
one first? Yeah, that can be a difficult thing. We'll talk a little bit about doing more about the blocks of work and see if that may not help you with choosing what to do first, but at least you'll be on certain blocks of tasks to accomplish. Somebody else chimed in. What do you
Is
got?
sometimes for me, I just kind of want to know what's more of a priority from my leadership.
Yeah,
They want me to do A, B, C, and D. Um, I have no problem doing all the way down to Z, but which one comes first? What do you need first? What are
right.
you looking for? Um, and it's happened before where I've gotten started on something. Of course, I see something that I'm interested in, so I'll get started on that, and it'll say, "Well, where's this?" I'm like, "I didn't even
Yeah,
start on it yet."
right.
Um, well, I really wanted that. Okay, well, that could have been communicated.
Exactly. And to Chris's and Rob's point, I think it gets into values, and that's another lean principle. Does it add value? And value is defined in lean terms as what the owner's willing to pay for. But value in your life might be a moral value or an ethical value or just a value of accomplishment. So, what are those values that you have? So, could you put that lens on that list of things that you have to do and say, what gives me the most value, either personally or for my company or for the project? And do those first, because that's what's going to get you the return. That's where the lean principles come in with value. Anybody else?
I
Say,
create lists. I mean, I have this planner that I customize and I live by it, and that really helps me out a lot. I have, every week I have high priority, medium priority, low priority.
hmm
And I'll be honest, I get really irritated the following week when I have to keep writing the things on there and I'm putting them off.
right,
So that's usually a good motivator for me. And they're the low priority things that I'm like, okay, I could do it later. Okay, I could do it later. And they're just
right,
tedious and things, I have a laptop that I need to fix and or see if it can be fixed. It's been on my list for like a month now and I need to
right.
do that. I'm probably putting off.
All
Um,
right. So can I give you a great David Allen thing? It's called so you
Please.
think about a task that you've been struggling with, say the laptop getting fixed. And you say, he says, okay, what's the perfect outcome for that thing that you're struggling with? And the outcome is you get your laptop fixed, right?
Right.
All right. So then the next question you ask is, what's the first physical action that I need to take to get that done?
Open it up and see if it's fixable.
Okay, well, all right. So that's a great thing. And then you can ask, okay, what's the second thing that I should do to the
Okay.
again a physical action that
I
you
want to
need
see
to
if it's under warranty. It's less than a year
okay.
old. Okay.
All right. Then he says, okay, those things that you're coming up with, those next step things, how long are they going to take? And if they take less than 5 minutes, just do them.
Here's here and then my next thing is I think it is under warranty, which means I have to sit on hold with someone for God knows
Mm,
how long. And that's where I lost me. That was my
right.
like defining moment of nope, I don't have time. I'll do it later.
Don't have time. And
Yeah.
then
Well,
the
that's a
other,
full day of time management sheet
y-
on hold with IT.
Yes,
Done.
yeah,
exactly.
sure.
Is it Best Buy? Is it Lenovo? Is it Norton? Is it all
Yeah.
three of those? And yeah, I feel like
And
it's such a waste of time.
and is there anyone you could delegate that to?
See, I was gonna say procrastination is not really my biggest flaw, but
Right?
delegating, I have a hard time delegating.
Yeah.
So I have a newer company and I want to do everything and
Right.
I want to learn everything and I don't want to, I'm so afraid to let go of the reins a little bit
Yeah.
that's my biggest issue. And I do
Okay.
need to, hire help for
Yeah.
issues like that, and that's where I'm at. I'm like, all right, I do at some point have to say, okay, it's time to hire somebody else.
Right.
But yeah,
Tanya, let me tell you my story about that. I did a time log for a week and I'm a solopreneur. I was spending 60% of my time doing administrative crap that doesn't bring me money or make me happy.
yeah,
And so I hired an admin literally that week, and she's been with me for 11 years now.
that's
Um,
where I'm at. I'm at that cusp of, okay, do I hire someone? Do I not hire someone? And
yeah,
yeah.
sooner rather than later, Tanya, I'm telling you, it'll change your life. Even,
Is it also one of those things thinking that hiring an admin or an assistant makes you feel like, well, who the hell am I to have that?
A
Or
little
no?
bit. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that go into it. I think one of it is I have worked, in the past I've worked with so many other companies and I feel like the ownership loses touch of what's going on in their business and I don't want
Mhm.
that to happen to me. And yes, you're right, Chris. Somebody, I was talking to one of my guys the other day, and he was like, he answered the phone and he was like, "Hey, boss, how you doing?" And even that makes me feel like so
Yeah.
uncomfortable,
Yeah,
and it's better than him calling me ma'am, which he was doing for the longest time. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
uh,
Well, I
But
mean,
yeah,
much to like Brent's, assistant. My friend, he's a solopreneur and he has an auto shop and he has two bays. But he realized how much time he was spending on the phone. And when he finally went ahead and got an assistant, let's call it desk help, somebody to order the parts, talk to
mhm.
he started moving, started moving the product out and making more money,
right.
you know. And it was something that I talked to him about because he was very much like that. He goes, "Well, who the hell am I to have an assistant? I'm a mechanic." I
Right,
said, "You spend probably 50% of your day on the phone, and the other 10% of people who just wander in and they're time wasters. They just suck it right out of you. I watch it.
right.
It's
Yes.
horrible." But
Okay.
that's how he felt, and he hired actually one of his wife's friends was out of work, and he said, "Hey, are you interested in this?" And pretty smart woman, and she picked up on it, and it just
Oh,
it's
it's a game changer. It's a
yeah.
life changer. So my mantra is if it doesn't make me money or bring me joy, somebody else can do it.
I like that.
Okay.
Not the worst thing.
Anybody else before we go to the next time waster? All right, let's try this. Multitasking. There's no such thing as multitasking. It is a myth. You cannot multitask. You can shift from one thing to another. But let's just do this exercise. Everybody do it with me. Out loud, spell multitask.
Multitask.
All right. Now count to 18 by twos. Ready? 2, 4,
Two, four,
6,
six,
2,
8,
eight,
10,
4,
12,
10,
14,
16,
12,
16,
14, 16,
18.
18.
12, 14,
Now
16, 18.
switch back and forth between the two. So you'd go M2, U4, go all the way. Try it.
Oh, shit.
M2, U4,
You,
Mm.
L6,
four. Oh,
T8,
no, I can't do it.
I10, T.
Brent's looking at it, so it's not fair, buddy.
But do you see how that works? I do this in class, and some people can't even do the switch back and forth, but some people are very adept at that. And just because you can switch back and forth quickly doesn't mean that this is an efficient way to do work. Again, we're talking about creating uninterrupted workflow, right? And usually I'll time them on how long it takes them to spell multitask, how long it takes them to count to 18 by twos. And then we do it back and forth. Usually it's 2 to 3, sometimes 4 times longer. So when you're switching back and forth and grabbing that phone call and then answering that text and then checking that email and then, doing whatever work you're doing on your computer, you're creating horrible workflow. So you got to do things in blocks. You got to set aside time. I'm going to check email for an hour, and then I'm going to catch up on my phone calls and texts, and then I'm going to have this meeting. And if you don't do that workflow in blocks, you're really, really destroying your productivity. Any comments on this?
Yeah, if
You,
Tanya had somebody she could hand that laptop to and say, "Here, figure this out for me,"
Go to get that fixed.
before
Yeah,
it's out of warranty.
yeah,
Multitasking, I'm horrible at.
yeah.
I can give you a quick example. I was working on a proposal for a Pennsylvania job. So I started out, that was my intention, let me work on this. And then I'm like, wait, the rates are changing. Let me check on those rates. And then I was looking at the rates. And then I'm like, oh, wait a second. You know what? There's, this certification that I think I finished, but I'm not sure if I did. And then I went on to that. Before I know it, I am on the Pennsylvania DOT site looking at God knows what. And I didn't finish the proposal. And
Yeah,
one thing after I need to like focus on one thing at a time and I cannot veer off and I'm very bad at veering off because
yeah.
I try to do all of those things at one time.
Well, we're
There's a lot of truth to that getting up and taking a break,
yeah,
Rob, as well. But there's a lot of truth to just saying, I'm going to take 5, go get a glass of water. Um, how many people just put off going to the bathroom because they're so focused and right? And
yeah,
you're like, God, finally you're going to burst and you're like running to the bathroom. Why do you do that to yourself?
yeah.
You know?
It's like a neural reset when you do that. Um, and again, this ties into values as well. What are you grabbing? That text or that phone call or answering that email and feeling compelled that you have to do that way. What is the value associated with that task? But I can't emphasize this enough. Blocks of work, emails for a while, phone and text for a while. Um, yeah, and just we'd say try that for a week and see if you're getting more done. Right, that's the exercise. All right, let's move on. We got one last one: clutter. And we have another profile called Chases Shiny Objects. They tend to have cluttered desks. And how many people have folders within folders within folders within folders within folders on their desktop, laptop, computer? That
Oh,
they,
here,
they
yes.
David Allen says you've increased all the places where your file is not going to be. Um, so
Good point.
So first of all, get rid of everything, clean everything out. And if you're really freaked out about this cleaning out, then put it in a box and let it sit there for a month. And when you don't access any of that for a month, then you can recycle it or throw it away. So decluttering is a big deal. And again, decluttering your digital world as well. We've got a way to access files where we just say we do the date, who's changed the file, and then the name of the file. And it's real easy to find that file. And they all organize themselves by chronological because the latest date always is at the bottom. And then I do individual folders for, I don't have folders within folders within folders. You know, maybe I have one or sometimes two levels of that, but um, you can organize your, and we talk more about this, organizing your digital files as well. So um, let me make a note to myself. All right. So any comments on that? Anybody?
I just started doing that with a lot of different things, pictures for slideshows that I use,
Yeah.
um, to where I didn't have any name on them.
Yeah.
But now taking the time to name them, put them in the spot where they should be. Um, Possibly the notes that'll go along with a slideshow that I may do, naming those the same thing. Because I
Hmm.
waste a lot of time searching this file, that file. Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. And really, it would have only taken me a minute to name it something when I started it.
Yeah. Sure. And you can even do now, you can do keywords, the words that'll prompt where that thing is too. So, all right. Anybody else? Any comments? I'm going to stop share.
I
Um,
feel you on the folder in the folder. I think it's that old mentality of you literally used to having paper in folders to make it easier
yeah.
to find. Now we've
Yeah.
mimicked that in the digital world. And yeah, I
Exactly.
could
It
probably
doesn't
go
work.
eight. I got some stuff that's probably 8 levels deep.
Yeah. So David Allen in the book Getting Things Done, he just does everything alphabetically. He said that is the easiest, simplest. And if you maybe have one level in your folder, that's fine. But you get down two, three, four folders within folders, you're exponentially increasing where something isn't, and you're trying to find it. So alphabetically and then by date. Usually within the folders, all of mine are by date. So I'll put 2025-6-27 BD since I've created the file, and then author checklist. That's the name of the file. And then, like I said, it's so cool because those automatically align themselves chronologically. And you can see the latest one. And then I have created, because I do a lot of revisions on files. I've created an old files folder within that folder. So when I get a revision on one, I'll put the old one in the old file so that I know I'm not grabbing the wrong one. I'm grabbing the latest one. Now the date will show you the latest one, but I don't want any confusion. So I'll put all the old files in the old file folder. It's a great way to do it. And again, all of this is from David Allen's book, Getting Things Done. I don't recommend the book because he's an academic and it's really tedious and really laborious to try to get through it. But there are some, if you do like a recap or a abbreviated version of the Cliff Notes for David Allen's Getting Things Done, you can find those and they're usually pretty good. All right. So we're reaching the end of our time. Anybody with any closing comments on this?
I just the thought of something for Tanya. What if you found somebody like a part-time kind of thing to start? Maybe somebody like that you connect with at the end of your day if you needed something done.
That's a great idea. And I did do that. There's a woman that I had met with a couple of months ago, and
Mm.
she's fantastic, and she reminds me a lot of myself. And she has a job, but she works remotely, and she'd be able to kind of help me out as
Hmm.
needed. And that's another part of my issue is I don't know that I need someone, I don't need someone full time. I
Yeah.
need someone part time, but I don't know how many hours. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. So I do think that she is a great candidate that I should, continue looking into. Especially like this half of the year, we're going to be super busy. I didn't need it so much before, but now I'm kind of trying to figure out when to pull the trigger and be like, okay, we should get working on this now.
Sooner rather than later. I'm telling you,
Definitely.
it'll change your life. Casey, I interviewed Casey. She was pregnant. She now has an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old, and she works whenever she wants to work and takes off whenever she wants to take off. I pay her well. She's a 1099. I don't have to do payroll, and she loves it because she has a lot of freedom.
Right.
And you know, and just tell them up front, hey, may not be much right now, but this could turn into a lot more hours, or you work. I just tell her work as much as you want to work, take off
Exactly.
when you want to take off, and she loves it. And I've watched her kids grow up. I've only met her face to face probably 5 times over 11 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And like I took them all to a Braves game one night, and we met, and I bought their kids varsity hot dogs one day, and we met for lunch. And but I've watched her kids grow up, and she loves
Yeah.
that she has that freedom. The other day she said, "Hey, I'm taking off Monday. It's Charlie's birthday, ninth birthday. We're having a pool party." And I just went, "Tell Charlie happy birthday. Awesome. Let me know when you get back Tuesday."
Right. Right.
And see, a lot of companies, if they were working for companies, the companies would probably not do that. So,
No.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But even something, and because she already has a job, and I know, like for you to have a business, you want write-offs, but even this something where maybe you give her a couple bucks cash to do something.
yeah,
Hey, I'll give you $50 to figure out this computer. Why not? It's only phone time.
right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
But but now it's phone time. You don't have to deal with, or $100, whatever it is, whatever it's, if it's worth $100 to you, give it to them.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You
And
know,
Definitely.
it's so funny. The time management, this is the biggest resistance we get from people because they're used to doing things so many ways. And
right?
we'll do this time management worksheet next week, but we had a guy that said, okay, you literally write down everything that you do. And one of the things he wrote down was buying groceries. And he said, I said, well, there's about a dozen ways you can buy groceries now. You can do Instacart, you can do it online, you can do it recurring, you can do it. He goes, oh no, I like to go buy groceries. I said, well, that's a totally different issue. Then stop bitching about how much time you're having to spend going buying groceries. Come on. He did the same thing with cleaning his house. I said, you could hire a maid. You could get a robot vacuum. There's about a dozen ways to do this. And he goes, well, I like to clean my house. Well, then shut up about your time.
Yeah.
People say, I don't have time. No, you're choosing to spend your time on things that may prevent you from doing things that you value. That's what we're finding with time management. So I'll leave you guys with that. Have a
All
great
right.
Friday, rest of the weekend. Um, we'll hope to see you next week. I want to go through the time management worksheet because I think it's such a valuable tool. It encapsulated the whole David Allen book in a worksheet. So thank you all. Any closing comments from anybody?
Stay off YouTube this weekend, Rob. Take it easy.
Yeah, take it easy, Ron.
I have enough information now. I've got to let it percolate.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a great
All right. Have a
weekend.
great
We'll see
weekend.
you next week.